Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Knowledge Box and Cooking. Today I am going to share the lesson is The Farmer's Wife summary. I hope it helps you students. The Farmer's Wife is a poem about a woman's grief, anger, and tribulations after her husband, who was a farmer, commits suicide. This poem also raises the importance of breaking stereotypes. The poet questions the culture views a woman as a burden and a dishonor. Through the poem, Lalita Kumari challenges the existing male bigotry, prejudice. She points out to the long-held patriarchal attitude, as well as the privileges that come with it. She pledges to spend her life and fight against challenges with the harvest of her womb. She also pledges to instill in her children the values and life skills that will prevent them from resorting to cowardly ways in the midst of any suffering. Lalita Kumari, a well-known Telugu writer, uses the pen name Volga, B.1950. She was born in Guntur, Andhra Pradesh. Her short stories, novels, and poems reflect eloquent feminist viewpoints without sacrificing literary style or failing to convey the character's reality. Her poetry makes extensive use of metaphor, which helps in the successful delivery of the message. The poem consists of non-rhyming lines, which closely reflect the natural rhythms of wife's speech. Volga has thus written the poem in free verse with lines that do not follow a metrical scheme. The poem begins with a caustic remark about the deceased farmer being virtuous. Through the speaker's words, the poet creates a sequence of contradictions. In the opinion of an orthodox society, the farmer's widow says that he became virtuous by taking his life, but she remains a sinner. The farmer has managed to get away from his creditors and society. He had to bow his head with his hands spread in front of his creditors every time there was a crop failure, or he may sell his crops if he had any. However, he had now transcended over all of these possibilities.
The poem initially criticizes the farmer for his desperate decision. It eventually shifts to a feminist tone because the androcentric society would not celebrate the birth of a girl child. The farmer's wife depicts herself as a little girl, born with her head bowed and her hands stretched. Not only does the wife question her husband, but also the system, which would not approve of a widow, facing the society on her own. She wonders how her husband could undertake such a step, despite being completely aware that his absence would put his reliant family in jeopardy. She adds that the cotton harvest is just a few days old, but that their family must live longer. She also admits that she has had difficult times, but she would never consider taking drastic steps. He had repeatedly mistreated, abused and insulted her, but because of the bastion of male chauvinism in the society, she believed it was acceptable for a man to do so. However, she had never anticipated his suicide. Now that her husband has committed suicide, her life is just a miserable existence, with no crops, outstanding debts, and her dignity in ashes, hit the dust. There are 4 children who cannot be abandoned to the wind. This stance upsets the farmer's wife immensely. She adds that it only takes a second to think of extremes, but it takes a brave heart to confront life. She is adamant on becoming a brave person. After all, she believes in educating her children and teaching them life lessons rather than raising them to be cowards. In any situation, they will not outstretch their hands in search of sympathy, but they will succeed in all the challenges they face. The poem ends with a lovely message on how life is a great gift. It is meant. As a result, the poem is both a tribute to the woman's fearless spirit and an appeal to the despairing not to give up. Death, the poem implies, is not the remedy, but rather a convenient escape for those like the woman's husband. As a result, she is determined to live life to the fullest.